The first thing you need to know is that nobody walks into a courthouse expecting the truth to walk out unscathed, least of all on a Tuesday morning. With the smell of stale coffee in the air, the marble floors already tracking the footsteps of 1,000 small tragedies. And nobody, I mean nobody, expected the crack of a slap to echo off those hallowed walls, right at the feet of Lady Justice herself. But that's exactly how it started, the sound of skin on skin, sharp enough to make even the paintings on the wall flinch. Officer Mark Reeves, full of that brittle confidence only a certain kind of cop can wear, stood there sneering, looking down on a black man in a suit that had seen better years, and he spat out the words that would come back to haunt him. This table's for real lawyers, not janitors playing dress-up. Papers scattered like autumn leaves. A family photo slipped on a bench. And if Reeves had bothered to really notice the man he was humiliating, he'd have seen a calm that only comes from knowing exactly who you are. Because Daniel Carter wasn't a janitor. Not even close. And Officer Reeves was about to find out just how expensive one moment of arrogance can be. You ever watch a crowd in a courthouse lobby? It's like the ocean before storm. Lawyers in shoes too shiny for their own good. Prosecutors with coffee stains down their ties. Cops like Reeves holding court in the corners, badges glinting, telling war stories to anyone who'll listen. Reeves was a legend in his own mind, tossing off lines about punks, dash cams, and the thin blue line like they were gospel. His crew, well, most of them ate it up. Except for Officer Chun. Rookie face still too honest for this business, shuffling his feet, questioning the magic tricks Reeves pulled to keep his record clean. But Reeves just smirked, winked at the crowd, and reminded Chun and anyone else listening. Out here, you learn to bend the rules or you get broken. That morning, as the sun sent golden rays through dusty courthouse windows, it felt like any other day. But behind the scenes, word was out about a new Judge Daniel Carter, recently transferred in, reputation for being by the book, especially on cases with minority defendants. Reeves shrugged it off. I make their jobs easy, he boasted. Judges love me. They all break eventually. What he didn't say, what maybe he'd never admit even to himself, was that he needed that power, needed it to drown out the tiny voice that asked if he was ever really the good guy. He sauntered into Courtroom 7, nodding at Prosecutor Jennifer Hayes, who returned a smile that didn't quite touch her eyes. Just stick to the facts, Reeves, she warned. Defense is Shaw today. Reeves just laughed. Shaw? Please. I've seen him fold more times than a card table. And then the man in the worn suit walked in. Tall, dignified, eyes that missed nothing. Reeves, not really looking, pegged him as a low-rent public defender, maybe a family member there to offer moral support. When a man started setting up at the defense table, Reeves bristled. He called out, voice loud and patronizing, defense tables for attorneys only. The man just looked up, steady, unflinching. I'm aware. His voice was calm, low, maybe with a bit of Southern left in it, the kind you hear in church basements and community halls. Reeves couldn't let it go. He stalked over, demanded credentials, sneered at the family photo in the man's wallet. Let me guess here to cheer on the defendant. Family sits in the gallery. The man, still arranging his papers, replied, not related to the defendant. Reeves doubled down, started in about paralegals, janitors, maybe you're just lost. Hayes tried to interject, but Reeves cut her off. He liked the sound of his own authority, too much to stop now. We have rules here, he insisted. You're disrupting order. The man stood, tall as Reeves, and looked him in the eye. I understand order, officer. Perhaps more than you know. That line, in hindsight, should have stopped Reeves cold. But it didn't. He just pressed harder, demanded credentials. The man started to reach for his wallet again, but before he could, Reeves saw the family photo and made another cheap shot. The room got colder. Just then, Marcus Shaw, the real defense attorney, burst in, apologizing for traffic. Reeves seized the moment. This man claims he's Daniel Carter. Shaw went pale. Officer, that's Reeves, didn't let him finish. He shoved the briefcase off the table, sent papers and a photo skidding across the floor. Then, and this is where the line gets crossed, he forced the man to his knees. That's better, he spat. You people need to learn your place. Hayes gasped. Shaw looked ready to collapse. And then the main doors flew open. Chief Judge Margaret Thompson stormed in, black robes swirling, voice icy enough to freeze fire. "What in the name of justice is going on in my courthouse?" Reeves, still puffed up, explained, "Just maintaining order, ma'am." She fixed him with a stare that could peel paint. "That man is the Honorable Judge Daniel Carter. He's presiding over today's trial." The silence that followed was absolute. Carter rose slowly, dusted himself off, and told Thompson, Officer Reeves was simply doing what he thought was right. But everyone in that room could hear the steel beneath the velvet. Reeves stammered, tried to defend himself. Carter just looked at him and said, "You saw what you wanted to see. That's the problem." Everything changed in that moment. Reeves had just assaulted a judge, and not just any judge, one who'd spent the last 3 weeks quietly reviewing every case Reeves had ever touched. As Reeves waited in the witness room, shaking, the words of his old training officer echoed in his head about how lies always hide in the walls. When he was finally called to the stand, the gallery was packed. Rumors had spread, journalists had shown up, even other judges had snuck in to watch. Carter, now in full robes, presided with a presence that made the earlier insult look like a joke. 5 fat folders on his desk, all marked with cases Reeves knew too well. Carter asked if Reeves always followed procedure. "Always," Reeves lied. Carter raised an eyebrow. "That's a strong word. In 5 years, your dash cam malfunctioned 47 times. 39 of those with minority suspects. Is that coincidence?" The room was buzzing now. Shaw presented security footage that completely contradicted Reeves' report for the day's case, of video of Reeves planting evidence, caught from a private camera. Carter turned the screws. "Officer Reeves, did you just watch yourself commit a crime?" Reeves tried to protest, demanded his union rep. Carter didn't flinch. "You'll get your union. But first, answer my questions. Under oath." For the next hour, Carter peeled back every lie, every convenient malfunction, every shortcut Reeves had ever taken. One by one, the walls came down. Shaw moved for dismissal of charges against his client. Carter granted it and ordered every Reeves case to be reviewed. When Reeves protested, Carter shut him down. "What happened to you wasn't about me. You planted evidence. You lied under oath. You believe you're above the law. Bailiff, take him into custody." Even then, Reeves tried to twist it. "This is about race, about revenge." Carter's reply was cold and honest. "If I wanted revenge for every time someone like you made me prove my worth, I'd never have time for justice." And as the bailiff cuffed Reeves and led him away, Carter delivered the final cut. "The janitors you mocked have more integrity in one finger than you have in your whole career. They clean up messes. You create them." Applause broke out, not just for Carter, for justice itself, for the idea that maybe, just maybe, the system could be forced to work. But of course, it wasn't over. That night, Carter found a note from the janitor crew. "Respect isn't about the uniform or the robe. It's about the person." And as he walked home, courthouse behind him lit up in the dark. He thought about what had just started. By dawn, the courthouse was buzzing. Files kept coming in cases to review, new whistleblowers stepping forward. Carter took calls from everyone. The chief judge, the DA, even the FBI. The web went deep. Captain Bradley, Commissioner Stone, detectives who had gamed the system for years, all of them now in the crosshairs. Chin, the rookie who'd seen too much, risked everything, sharing recordings, documenting the whole rotten operation. But the corruption ran wide. Evidence gone missing, kickbacks, even 2 other judges in on the take. The network, they called it the Council, ran the city from the shadows, laundering money, controlling who got arrested, which contracts got awarded. The day Carter moved on Bradley was the day the Council moved on him, threatening his family, his allies, even sending men to sit outside his house. But he didn't flinch. The city erupted in protest, not against Carter, but for him. Families whose lives had been torn apart by false arrests, mothers of sons who'd died in prison, innocent men and women who'd lost years to planted evidence, all showed up. The old ways were dying in the sunlight. As Carter exposed more, the Council tried to fight back, pulling strings, bribing judges, trying to stop case reviews. They almost succeeded, but in a packed courtroom with state officials and the attorney general herself present, the truth came out. The council had paid for the union's legal fight. Their money was everywhere. The judge had no choice but to let the reviews proceed. But power never gives up easy. Bradley tried one last desperate move, taking hostages Chin's family at a warehouse stuffed with burning evidence. Carter, knowing there was a mole in the FBI, went in himself, risking his life to stall for time. In the end, Martinez and the feds broke in, arrested Bradley, freed the hostages, and pulled out enough paperwork to put half the city's power structure in prison. In the aftermath, the city was chaos, but something was shifting. Carter went home to his family, exhausted but whole, knowing it was just the beginning. Good cops started stepping forward. Files kept coming in. The web of corruption began to unravel. Some in power fought back, but now, for every threat, there were 10 voices demanding justice. Chin's recordings and Morrison's testimony, the dirty detective who flipped when the walls closed in, helped expose a RICO-level conspiracy police, businessmen, judges, all on the take, all connected. It was messy, ugly, and dangerous. Carter took the witness stand again and again, faced down threats and lies, watched as real justice, the slow, methodical kind, did its work. When the dust started to settle, the people who mattered most, the ones who'd lost the most, finally had a voice. Children who dreamed of justice started to believe again. Cops who'd stayed honest felt pride again. The courthouse itself felt lighter, like maybe, just maybe, it was fit to carry the word justice over its doors. As Carter sat at his kitchen table, surrounded by his family, his kids telling him he was a hero, he knew better. The real heroes are the ones who get back up. Every time. The fight would go on, because power doesn't surrender. The networks always rebuild, always adapt. But for that moment, in that city, justice meant something more than words on a plaque. And maybe, just maybe, you feel the same way. So let me ask you, where do you stand? Is justice a feeling, a law, a fight, a hope? Drop a comment below. Share your story. Tell me, when is enough enough? And what would you do if you were the last line between justice and a system that wants to keep it buried? Because in the end, justice is all of us choosing to stand up together.